Today, we're going to talk about something that most Australian students use, but very few actually understand, and that's HECS-HELP. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I first started uni and I checked that box saying I wanted to defer my tuition fees onto HECS-HELP, I honestly had no idea what I was doing. And if I had to guess, I would say most of you watching are in a similar situation. But with that being said, well done. The fact that you all are coming here watching this video to learn more about HECS, well, that's 5 steps ahead of most students in Australia. As some of you may know, I used to work for the universities themselves, and you have no idea how many times I would speak to current students, university students in 3rd, 4th, even 5th year who have no idea how their degree is actually being paid for. So the fact that you're here watching this video looking to learn tells me a lot. And for any of you out there who are actually in high school and haven't yet signed up for these loans, let me just say you are extremely rare. So in this video, I'm going to try and explain HECS so that anyone can understand it, the useful tools you need to get all the information about your loan specifically, and whether or not it actually has been a good thing for the students of Australia. But just before we jump in, if you guys appreciate this video and the free content that Majella and I provide here, then we would really appreciate just a quick tapping of the like button. It shouldn't take you more than a second, but it really does help us out, and it'll help get this message to the students who actually need to see it. Now, very quickly, for almost any question about help loans, Commonwealth supported places, student contribution amounts, repayment thresholds, whatever it may be, the Study Assist website is a great resource. So I'll make sure to put that in the description below, and I would definitely recommend that you check it out because there's a lot of valuable information there. Okay, so what actually is HECS? Well, HECS is one of the 2 government-supported student loan systems here in Australia. And for those of you who don't know, student loans are there to cover the costs that go into running a course or you participating in getting a degree. So as you can imagine, in order to go to class and actually have there be a building, lecturers and tutors to teach you all of the facilities that you take advantage of while at a university, that all needs to be paid for. And so at the end of the day, you as a student can either pay that money directly to the university, or you can tick a little box which says, I'm not going to pay for this upfront right now, but I'm going to defer it onto a loan, which means the government forks up the money and then you pay them back later on. Now, as I mentioned before, there are 2 main types of help loans in Australia. There's HECS-HELP, the more commonly known one, and then there's FEE-HELP. Now they pretty much work in the same way, however there are 2 main differences. For one, HECS-HELP loans are associated with all Commonwealth supported places. Now you may know that as CSP, or you may not have heard of that at all before. Basically, Commonwealth supported places are spots at a university in a specific degree where the government actually pay for some of the tuition fees in full for you. FEE-HELP is the loan available for all non-CSP courses, or as they're normally referred to as domestic fee-paying places. Now, Commonwealth supported places, aka CSPs, they are quite interesting, and so if you guys would like me to create a video solely on CSP and how it works, then definitely just leave a comment down in the comment section below, and I'll look at doing that in the next couple of weeks. The other main difference is that for FEE-HELP loans put towards undergraduate degrees, like a bachelor's degree for example, most of them actually have a 25% loading fee, which is a 25% fee that's charged on top of the amount that you take on the loan. Now, just keep in mind, this fee will actually be reduced to 20% as of the 1st of January 2022. And just a quick tip, if you want to know whether or not you're going to have a HECS-HELP loan or a FEE-HELP loan, it goes back to the first main difference. So if you can see when you look at the information for the degree that it's a Commonwealth supported place or a CSP, then HECS will be associated with it. If it's a domestic fee-paying place or it doesn't mention anything about CSPs, then it's a FEE-HELP loan. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a clear enough overview of what HECS is, but you may be asking, how does getting into one of these loans actually play out? Well, if you guys have watched any of our videos, you'll know I love a good example. So let's go through one step by step to see when these loans are first introduced and what sort of interactions you may have with them throughout the life of your study. Okay, so let's say I'm just about to start studying the Bachelor of Commerce from ANU. If you go onto their programs and courses page, you can click on the admissions and fees tab, and if you scroll down past all the admissions information, you'll get information about the fees. As you can see already, as a domestic student, they have Commonwealth Supported Places, CSP. So from what we were talking about before, we know that there's going to be HECS-HELP available if we meet the eligibility criteria. However, what are the actual fees? How much money am I actually going to be putting onto this loan, effectively putting me into debt? Well, if we click on this link here, then click on tuition fees summary, then click on this link here, and we scroll down a bit, we can see from new students starting from the 1st of January 2021, these are the current bands that they offer and the respective fee amount. So as you can see for band 4, which includes law, accounting, administration, economics, commerce, communications, society, and culture, the student contribution amount, which is the amount that the student is actually liable for at the end of the day, and ultimately is the amount that can be put on a loan if you choose to, is per year $14,500. So what that in a complex way is basically saying is that for every subject, individual subject that you do in any one of those areas, it's going to cost you $1,813. And so if you were doing a commerce degree and every one of the subjects you did were commerce subjects, then the effective cost per year would be $14,500, which is roughly 1,813 multiplied by 8. Okay, so just to debrief where we're up to at this stage, we are looking at the Bachelor of Commerce from ANU. We have had a look into the fees. We know that they're Commonwealth supported, and that is the cost for this degree for the year. One quick thing to note here is that regardless of the university you attend, if the place or the offer that you receive is Commonwealth supported, then the fees will be exactly what's mentioned here on the table. So that means regardless of the university you attend, if you're doing the same type of subject, the cost is going to be exactly the same. So for simplicity's sake, let's just say that every single subject that I do is a band 4 subject. So it falls within the area of study you can see there. So every single subject I'm going to study is going to cost $1,813. So the way this would play out in terms of opting in for a help loan would basically be built into the enrollment process. So let's say I apply through UAC, I receive the offer, and I get some email from ANU saying, hey, congratulations on your offer, let's start the sign-up process. I would go through, do the necessary steps for what I need to do, and at some point in that process, it would say, how would you like to pay for your fees? And you tick one box to pay up front and another box to defer it onto a help loan. And it's as simple as that. Literally, you just tick that box saying that you want to defer your fees onto a help loan, and usually instantly the form is approved, and that's it. From that point on, you don't really do anything actively to pay for your fees or take care of any sort of fee payment. But as you may have guessed, things are happening in the background. So essentially at the beginning of every semester, once you select which subjects it is that you want to do, then in the background, the government gets an invoice for the subjects that you were enrolled in. Then they pay for that, and the debt, the amount that they pay for you, goes onto a loan for you. Now, assuming you were a full-time student, at the census date for the first semester, they would see all 4 subjects that you're enrolled in, each of them being $1,813, and the government would pay for that $7,252 for you, and you would now have a $7,252 debt added to your help debt. And that process basically continues until the end of your degree. Now just bear in mind the student contribution amount, those can vary from year to year. So while a business degree for 2021 is going to be $14,500, next year it could be slightly different. So just bear that in mind. Now there is one other fee that you should keep in mind. It's called the Student Services and Amenities Fee. And basically this is a fee usually between $150 and $300 that's charged every semester to certain students who have access to the services and amenities on campus. Things like counselors, the library, and this fee too can be put onto a help loan in some cases. So hopefully that helps paint a pretty good picture of how these loans actually work and then how it plays out for most students. Now, just a couple other things you should keep in mind. Unlike most loans, which are issued by banks or credit unions, help loans don't actually have any interest imposed, technically. What they have instead is a system called loan index indexation, which works in a very similar way to interest, but rather than having a set interest rate, they try to adjust the loan amount to keep up with inflation. Now, I know that sounds a little bit complicated, so it might be best to go through an example. So let's assume that year over year, the inflation rate was 1.5%. So general goods and services were 1.5% more expensive this year than they were last year. What this would mean if you had a loan of $20,000 is that you would simply multiply that by 1.015, and that would give you $20,300. So that's an increase of $300. And so assuming in the following year, we also had 1.5% of inflation, assuming none of the debt was paid off and you didn't take out any more debt, there would be an added $304.50 added to the loan amount. The next thing to keep in mind is that you actually have to pay this loan back. So it's all just fun and games when you first start studying and you put these fees onto the help loan and call it a future me problem. But at some point you will have to pay it back. And so how this works with help loans is you simply start paying it back once you start earning over the repayment threshold. As you can see here, for 2021 to 2022, once you start earning over $47,014, then the repayment rate is 1% of your income. And moving on from that, if you start earning over $54,283, it jumps to 2% and so on. And the way the government imposes this 1%, 2% loan repayment is through your tax filing every year. So on top of any income taxes you may be liable for, there'll be an additional 1%, just as there's an additional percentage for Medicare that you have to pay that goes towards paying off your help loan. But that probably gets a few of you thinking, is this compulsory repayment percentage the only way that I can pay off my loan? And no, technically you can make voluntary repayments, and if you were randomly given $20,000, using the example we had before, you could pay it off all in one go. Now, I'm not going to go into whether or not I think you should or shouldn't do this. There are already plenty of videos on the internet for that. But just bear in mind, a lot of these people are just speaking of their own personal experiences. So make sure not to take their opinions about whether you should pay it or shouldn't as advice. To make sure that I'm giving full transparency, I will let you know that I personally am not planning on paying off my help loan sooner than it needs to be. But again, don't take that as any sort of financial advice. Now, the next thing you might want to do is actually check your loan balance. This is something that unfortunately a lot of students don't do until well after their graduation. But if you're currently studying or even are yet to start studying, this would be a great thing to sort of get in the habit of so that you can track your debt as you go. Basically, the way I do it is by going onto my MyGov account. All you need to do is link that to the ATO's site, and then through that portal, you can see your HECS debt right there. To be honest, if I can provide one tip, and if there's anything you do take away from this video, it's just to heighten awareness of these loans. Now, as I sort of referenced to at the beginning of the video, while these help loans have revolutionized accessibility for university study for a lot of Australians, they're not the perfect solution. Now, I definitely don't know the perfect solution, and compared to the student loan systems available in other countries, we do have it pretty good here in Australia. But the fact that it is so easy, that a lot of students can basically fumble their way into a degree paying tens of thousands of dollars a year, does raise a few red flags for me. For example, in my personal experience, I could have very easily fallen victim to paying 3 times the amount for the course that I ended up doing. That's because when I decided to take on the pathway that I did, I can't really remember thinking about how much the course actually cost. And it was because I was able to put my full tuition fee onto a help loan that I really didn't have to think about it. However, there are a lot of pathways out there. For example, an equivalent to the one that I did, that where I studied was only $10,000. At the other university, it was $30,000. And another really common way these discrepancies in fees are sort of hidden due to the fact that we can defer our tuition fees onto loans is with private universities. Now, there's nothing wrong with going to a private university inherently, and there may be some keen advantages in certain areas of study, in certain industries, whatever it may be. But But I would highly recommend, if you are thinking of going to a university that doesn't have CSP, Commonwealth supported places, that you very carefully look over the fees. Because not only could that university have the 25 or 20% loan fee on top if you end up using the FEE-HELP loan, but the fees themselves may be much more than the equivalent course at a university that does offer CSP. But other than that, I'll leave it here. If you do have any specific questions, pop them down in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more. Check out some of our other videos, and I'll see you next time.